All right, everybody, welcome, welcome. We're going to give it 10 or 15 seconds just to let everybody enter the webinar, and then we're going to pass the mic over to our guest speaker. I hope everybody's having a great day so far. Okay, so thank you guys for joining us. Tonight we have Miss Sandra Scott with Scott Marketing and Consulting, and she's got an amazing presentation all about branding, which is a really fun topic, really valuable topic too. So thank you so much for being here, Sandra, and I'm gonna just pass the mic to you and give you the floor.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Tess. I really appreciate it. Hi, everyone. It's so wonderful to virtually see you again. I'm really excited to speak about branding. It is something that is just so close to my heart because for me, branding is personal. And as you'll see as we advance through the presentation, it is to you too. I know that's what brought you to RAL, to build your legacy, to establish something for you and for your family, in addition to meeting the great needs in your area for seniors and family members who need and deserve great care. And an extension of who you are is your brand. So it brings me great joy to talk to you this evening about that. So we're going to cover branding, and then I'm going to spend some time on tips that are going to help you. At the end, please feel free to ask any question that you would like in particular to your situation, or if you have a general overall question. Also, we are actually going to be sending out a newsletter covering this topic with a brand audit as well. So if you want to audit your brand, it doesn't matter where you are in the process, whether you have a RAL home, you've been operating for years, you're scouting land and doing feasibility studies, this audit will definitely be helpful to you at each stage. So you can email me and let me know if you're interested in joining our newsletter, and then I can send you the newsletter along with that brand audit. So without much further ado, we'll get started. And forgive me because my notes are off on the side, so I'm going to turn my head a little bit. I'm not ignoring you though. I never would do that. So when you look at brands right now, in the last 2 years since the pandemic, it has really changed. And the way companies approach brands has really changed. A lot of socioeconomic, political factors all have affected these multinational companies and how they go about navigating the marketing space, given who the constituents are, who their customers are, and what's important to their customers and what their customers value. So for the last 2 years, we've had to operate differently than we've ever known before, both personally and professionally, because of the pandemic. So professionally, the pandemic has caused a lot of businesses to take pause and re-examine their mission and their goals, us included. Every organization, just similar to the association of RAL, has also done that. Where are we? Where do we want to go? And what's really important to us in terms of our mission and values, and how do we communicate that best? So in this moment of pause and reflection, many organizations are looking at their brand and making changes to enhance their brand, whether it be through increasing their digital footprint, improving their brand awareness, or using data-driven information and insights to further expand their brand. So again, this evening we'll take a look at how you can create, how you can grow, or strengthen your brand this year, no matter where you are in your RL homeowner operator journey. What is a brand? Let's first start off by defining it. A brand is a marketing concept that helps people identify a person or organization. And I have RAL's logo on the screen there. And even if you didn't know what RAL stands for, you know that it's a national association. So it's right on point with being able to identify whether you are familiar with the organization or not, and giving some familiarity about what it is and what it does. It's a national association, and then you would dig further into figuring out what it is. But to all of its constituents, you would understand that's the residential assisted living. So a brand is a concept that helps people identify a person or organization. And a brand can also be, as I said, a person. A brand is the way a person, a company, or a product is perceived by those who experience it. And that's really key. What people think a brand is, it's a really great slogan, a logo. It really is how the person perceives it and how they experience it. And if you could remember, perception is reality. Throughout your journey of building your brand, that is going to help you to always stay on track, whether you take pause and reflect or you just go full steam ahead. What is the perception people have of your brand? And are you achieving what you've set out to in terms of your mission, value, and goals? And do those two align? If you can keep that in mind, you'll hit it out of the park every single time, I'm sure. A marketing tool that helps brands be recognizable are your logos, your slogans, your mission statements, your company values. Those are used to promote the person or the business. So I'd like to play a fun game. And if you have your chat box open, I want you to take a look at some brands that I'm going to put on the screen. And there are, I believe, about 10 brands. And I want you to just take 10 seconds and look at them. And let me know, or rather let Tess know, enter how many of them you instantly recognize. So we're going to test your brand awareness here. Of the brand logos on the screen, how many of the brands can you recognize in the 10 seconds? Write down as many as you can and send just a number to Tess. You can say all, 8, none. I'm sure you all remember a lot. We'll give it a few more seconds.
So far, it's across the board, 8, 8, 8, 8. Everybody's getting it.
That's awesome. I love it. And that is what we call brand recognition. And why is that so? The reason why we're able to know within seconds what company is associated with their logo is because they've built a brand consistently over time and a perception of who they are, what they provide, evoking an emotional sense of connection with the consumer. So for example, that bottle of Coke, we all knew it was Coke, right? Maybe not Pepsi, but we can identify with Coke. Coke, you want to share it, you know. Starbucks, it's another place that you can congregate. They called it your third home before the pandemic. Nike, it gives you a feeling that you can do it. You can be the owner of your own destiny. Their slogan, just do it. No more excuses. Whether you are an amputee, you are pregnant, doesn't matter if you're an athlete or not, you own it. You own your destiny. Disney, it's a feeling of joy. There's no happier place on earth. And we've really bought into that. It's where we're willing to spend $10,000 on a vacation just to get that experience. All of these great companies, you know, Amazon, we expect it quickly, overnight, that reliability that it could be in our home the next day. This is what brands have been built on. They've worked really hard to think about who it is they are as a company, what is it they want to achieve, and then how do they communicate to that message across to their constituents, their audience now, and the audience that they're going to grow into, such that they are always recognizable. So I really love that you all really got all of them really quickly. So here's some branding top tips. When we started out, I mentioned that branding is you. You are your brand. When you look at multinational companies that we just looked at, Mercedes-Benz, Amazon, they started with a person who had a belief, a dream, a vision. Ford Motor Company was with Mr. Ford, who wanted to build a better car, an assembly, and make it more affordable to people. All of these people, like you, had a dream to do something differently, to provide senior living, housing in a different way that families don't know about, that they think big box is perhaps the only option, or home care is the only other option to that. But they don't know about RAL. They don't know that your home is in their neighborhood. You provide something different. It is you and your vision, your mission, your passion for offering a different version that the world knows of senior care that's out there. So you always want to stay true to you, be authentic, and know that your brand is a representation of you. Knowing your brand means knowing who you are and knowing your audience. What helps you grow, of course, is hard work and knowing your purpose. And the team that you surround yourself with is also representation of your brand. They're an extension of who you are, of what you do. And the question I'd like to pose to you, if you're just starting on your journey and you haven't hired, your team, and you don't have your group of people with you, or if you're long established and you have a great team around you, think about, do they share your core values? Do they have the same passion and the same work ethic and leadership style that you do? Because when you're not there, are they still representing your brand as you would, whether you are physically there or not? Your team should be still authentic to your brand and authentic to you, because you employing them, you working with them, is an extension of who you are. And your reviews, your interaction, your customer service, that is so important. That's why Google reviews are so important. Yelp, all of these reviews that you see may be negative or may not be so complimentary, are people's experiences, customers walking into a pizza chain or a salon or whatever the venue may be. If they don't have a good experience, that perception is poor, they're going to equate that experience with the brand. And then they're going to make a decision on whether or not to continue purchasing from that brand based on that one experience. So you want to make sure that the people you have working with you is a good representation of who you are and they align with your values. So here are some branding top tips. If your brand is in developmental stages and your RL home is not yet open, you want to consider who your audience is. So we're going to start at the very basics. It isn't creating a logo straight off the bat. It isn't coming up with a mission statement or a tagline straight away. It's knowing who you are, what you're all about, and then coming up with an understanding of consumer personas. Who is your audience? And your audience could be that senior who will be receiving the services that you're providing to their family members and other decision makers and influencers. So you want to create consumer personas so that you can really go in depth as to your understanding of each person's need, what their buying habits are, what motivates them, what I call the need behind the need. Yes, they're coming to you for assisted living or memory care support, but that adult child, she needs to know that her mom is being taken care of. She needs to not worry. She needs to have peace of mind. So when you understand not just what is important to them, but how to build value with them, you're able to create a brand that will resonate and create a positive experience such that you are easily recognizable, have word of mouth, longevity, and everything else that we're about to talk about. So you should consider your buyer's journey, their needs, their wants, and what they want to experience. Then consider again who you are, what you want to represent, or who you represent, and how you can effectively communicate that to the public. If you're not yet open, it's really important to take time to consider your domain name and your logo. So once you think about who you are, what it is you are representing, what it is you want to communicate, you develop your consumer personas, who it is you're serving, what's important to them, how you can meet that need. Think about their journey, their experience as you're delivering that product or service, so that then you can think through what would be valuable to them and how you can communicate that. Then you move on to your domain name, your logo. You want to make sure that it's something that's easily memorable, something that can be found, or if they see your logo, it makes sense. It's not, let's say, a Celtic design that they have to decipher, or it's not a ubiquitous, graph or design that really doesn't equate with residential care or what you have to offer. Your URL is extremely long and really hard for them to remember. These are the things that build great brands. You have something that's easy to Google search or, put in Bing something that people can remember, but something that really makes sense and is important to you. So take time to look at that URL. Go on GoDaddy. There's many different platforms that offer domain name searches. And before you invest, this happens a lot to homeowner operators. Before you invest in purchasing that domain, see if it's available, or before you commit yourself to the design of the logo, before you hire your graphic artist, just make sure that that domain is available. And then look at the possible combinations of that domain. Is that domain short enough for people to remember? Does it make sense with the services that you offer? For example, our brand name has .consulting. It's a subdomain. They're very popular. .coms, of course, are international, but subdomains have become incredibly popular, whether it's .pet if you're a pet supply owner, .salon if you're a salon owner. You may want to consider a subdomain that would make your brand stand out amongst your competition. And that is just a clever way to market and market differently in your area. You could also purchase many different variations of that to ensure that your brand as an entirety is never compromised because someone else will pick up on the .com, .net, or what have you. But really take time to think that through. Is your design one that will be relevant 5, 10, 15 years from now when you look back on it and you see, yes, that still represents me? I think about that with the McDonald's arches. How many of us can think about being a little kid, whether you frequented McDonald's or not? We know that that's probably where most of us have had our first hamburger, or Burger King, or Jack in the Box, something like that, depending upon your geographic area. There is that one burger place that represents, your hometown, and that's what you remember, and arcing back to your childhood and say, that's fond memory, and I love that place. So you want to think about your logo or your brand in that same term. Does it have staying power? McDonald's hasn't changed its arches. Amazon hasn't changed. The Starbucks logo hasn't changed. There's so many strong brands. Coca-Cola, all of these strong brands have never changed their logo because it made sense from the beginning. It makes sense today, and it will make sense in the future. They may go through different variations of it, slight changes, but the core of their brand remains the same. So when you think about who you are and all the other steps, buyer's journey, you get to your domain and it comes time to developing your logo, you want to really make sure that you love it. Take time to really think it through, go through concepts, visualize it, see it, and ask yourself, is this something that I'm going to love 15 years from now? If it's authentic to you, who you are, and it represents you, I guarantee you're going to love it 10, 15 years from now still. It's also important to have a brand style guide. So whoever is developing your logo, please make sure that they provide you with a brand style guide. And why this is important is for branding to be successful, it has to be consistent. And we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. But the way your logo appears on a shirt, for example, should be the same way it appears in your marketing collateral. It should be the same way it appears on a mug or on a hat or online. Both on and offline, your logo should look the same. So every time someone experiences, encounters, engages your brand, it's, oh, that's RAL Academy. Oh, that's McDonald's. Oh, that's Scott Marketing Group. It's the same. It doesn't look different. It's really important that you look at what the long version of that could be or short version of that could be, both online and off, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But make sure that you have a brand style guide that will dictate to anyone producing collateral for you, doing website design for you, what those colors should be, what those fonts should be, and then you're going to be well on your way to ensuring brand consistency. Your brand should be consistent, like I said, across all platforms, both online and off, and your content should be consistent to help residents, family members, community know that your brand is reliable. So how does your brand translate digitally is a question you should answer or ask yourself. Consider your social profiles on mobile, on website. How does it appear in marketing collateral? Consistency is important, and you want consumers to recognize your brand no matter where it appears or on what it appears. So know your audience, consider your buyer's journey, create, update, or improve your online presence. So if you're not at the beginning stage of your RAL home, but you've invested in that logo and you've got your tagline and you've broken ground and you're so excited, as we are for you, but you're not sure about how to expand your brand and how to make sure that it's consistent across all platforms, just make sure you've got your brand style guide and that you have a plan for both online and off so that it's consistent. And then create content that provides value to your target audience. That's a big miss for a lot of brands, especially brands that may be smaller and not as well known as the Golden Arches or Starbucks. You always want to make sure that you're putting content out there that is helpful, useful, relevant, and reliable. So whether it's your blogs, whether it's your website information, your social media posts, it should always create a sense of value to your target audience. And if you've worked on your consumer personas and you know who your audience is, you're going to understand that the information, whether it's a quick tidbit or if it's a longer 3-minute, 5-minute blog read, it's going to be helpful to them and build value. And then invest in digital marketing. What we've really found with the pandemic, even though the world was already on a digital scale, is that it was pushed even further to the digital forefront. And so your website is your brick and mortar storefront. It doesn't matter that you don't have a home right now. If you have an online presence, you get to build your brand way before you open. If you have a home that's open or has been open for years, you would still need to make sure your digital marketing, your digital footprint is where it should be so that you can raise your brand awareness, bring more customer calls to your community, but also that it's consistent across the platform. So if you've been open for a while, ask yourself, does my digital footprint, so the logo that's on my website, also look the same that's in my collateral? Or is my collateral outdated because it's what I've been using for years? Nothing has really changed in the copy. I haven't really changed any of the service offerings, or my pricing hasn't changed, so I haven't changed the actual rack card or trifold brochure or what have you, but it looks different from your updated website, then you want to make sure that you make efforts or at least a plan and budget for aligning those two, because what you want to show your customer that walks in that door, that family member, is you are fresh, you are on trend for you, your brand, your area, and what you're giving them isn't outdated information. So what they see on your website is also what they experience when they walk in the door, or what they when they walk in the door is backed up by everything you say on your website. So it has to be connected. Everything you do is interrelated. We call it omni-channel or an integrated plan. It all has to make sense to the consumer that, yes, if I go here, I'm going to get that message. If I speak with that person, they're going to give me that same understanding. It's consistency across the board. So, as I said, consistency is key to growing your brand at each stage of your business, from acquisition to opening to operation. So the average person conducts 3 to 4 searches each day. Truly, that's the person who doesn't have a lot of time and they're on the web only in between, beginning work, end of day. They've got a lot going on. Most people, because mobile phones are very advantageous and in our pocket all the time, we often search way more than that. But the average person searches 3 to 4 times. Even with 3 to 4 times, it provides us with so much opportunity to get our brand out there, especially locally. So you want them to engage your brand. So you want them to see the same message across all platforms. So here's a pro tip. Make sure the information you provide, the content, again, is useful, helpful, and relevant to your target audience. And remember that the most successful brands are those that are able to establish its value with customers. So let's take a deeper dive into what I mean by consistency. Your logo and your tagline. So if you have a logo, Do you have a tagline that helps to explain it if your logo may be one that you love, but it's kind of ambiguous? Or does your logo easily identify who you are, what what it is that you do, and then your tagline just re-emphasizes that. So look at that combination. If you have a logo but have never had a tagline, you know, it's really up to you if you'd like one or not. But I think that going with a tagline helps people to remember you more and understand the value proposition that you're bringing to the table. So for example, our tagline at Scott Marketing Group is aging has changed and so should your marketing strategies. That is very true today, tomorrow, and in the future. The truth of the matter is, even the strategies we use today is going to change tomorrow, because the way seniors purchase products and services, their desires, needs, and wants, that's always changing. And because they're ever changing, none of us is static. We posted today about, you know, a quote by David Bowie, aging is simply becoming who you're always meant to be. And so our tagline really represents us as a consultancy. We are always looking at the purchasing habits of seniors, the psychology behind it, what's important to families. We do surveys, blind focus groups. I mean, it's incredible the amount of data and research we do to see how can we best serve our clients and their constituency in the areas in which they're in. What's the national trends? What's all of that? And so our tagline, whether it's again today, tomorrow, or in the future, is going to remain the same. That's why it's trademarked, because it's valuable to us as a brand, as a consultancy. So look at that and decide whether or not they make sense together. Does your tagline, if you have one, support your logo? Your online. Now that's a big topic that we're going to try and consolidate, and I'm just hitting high level, high notes for everybody to keep within our 30 minutes, because I know you've worked a very long day. Social media. No matter how you feel about social media, love it, hate it, think it's overwhelming, scary, the truth of the matter is it's not going away. And I believe each and every one of us is capable of managing our own social media platform. It just takes a little bit of time developing a content calendar and saying, how can I put my brand out there in the public to showcase who I am, who I serve, and what it is I am about. And if you develop a content calendar, for example, just take February from the 1st to the 28th. How often would you like to post? What is it that you want to share with people? And what you share, is it valuable? Is it relevant? Is it helpful? Useful? And does it provide a purpose? And yes, in between, there are the fun pics of your residents. They want to see family members. They want to see life in action. All of that is totally great, because that's an extension of who you are, creating quality of life, happiness, seniors loving who they are, where they live. You know, aging is just an exciting part of this next chapter of their life. Make sure that's in there too, but make sure it supports your brand. So you're not going to post something that really isn't relevant to who you are and what it is you're about. Your website, the same thing. Is the content really specific to who it is you are, what it is you do, and the services you provide? Remember, when people visit your website, they make a judgment about it within the first 2.5 seconds. And that's pretty heavy judgment in such a short amount of time. As quickly as you all recognize those brand logos, that's how people are with our websites. And so when they do give us their time to read it, you want to make sure that you answer questions that they didn't know they had, in addition to the ones they do have, and that content is, again, useful, helpful, relevant. Your blogs, if you choose to do it, it doesn't have to be War and Peace. It could be a quick read, anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. Now, there are some really great food for thoughts in terms of SEO and what Google Analytics look like. It used to be, 300 words or less would suffice in order to get you ranking. But with blogs, they look anywhere from 700 to 1,000 words. And I know not everyone has that kind of time. So you don't have to pen a blog all the time. But if you do have a blog, just make sure that the content is specific to you. So for example, if you're an RAL home that's offering memory care, consider a caregiver's guide. Consider useful tips to caregiver burnout, and create a blog with the 5 top tips that would help with that. That kind of information sets in the mind of your user, your visitors to your website, oh wow, I didn't know that that is what I have. I'm exhausted all the time, and now I see I need to practice good self-care. I need to consider perhaps assisted living. I need to speak with a social worker. You know, there's so many things that you can teach and share that establishes you as an expert in your field and a resource and guide as an advisor to the people that you're trying to help and you're reaching out to. Your videos, your podcasts, the same. It has to be information that represents your brand. I'm sure a lot of us have seen in the public eye people, personas, they're also brands. They put things out there that they may later regret and they have to take it down. And even though it's down, someone's already seen it and it's broadcast across the world. So just make sure that the videos that you post are ones that you really do want to show your brand in its best light. For example, the photographs and videos that people may take of their residents, always show that resident with integrity. You may not realize that although the resident is smiling in that image, if you look in the background, there is a resident who has dementia wearing a bib and who may be drooling or heads off to the side. And I use that as a real life example of images that you know, people have posted that we have encouraged our clients to think about, because you want to honor every resident at each stage of their life. And if they have dementia and they're changing brain, always want to show them in the best light with integrity, holistically supporting them and honoring them and with respect and dignity. So just make sure your videos honor that senior, and that whoever looks at that, their perception is the same. It's, wow, look at the great life that this person is living at this RAL home. Wow, I wish my grandmother could have that kind of fun, or that's the place I want my mom to live. She looks just like my mother. So think through that. It's a lot of thought that goes into it, but that's what makes a strong brand. It's not just about posting for the sake of it or putting something out there for the sake of it. It really is thinking through who you are, what you want to be known for, and staying consistent and authentic to that across the board. Now there's SEM, search engine marketing, and so SEO, search engine optimization. SEM is the paid campaigns and the SEO is the organic. And why we consider this also as part of your brand strategy is because keywords, keyword search come up. Do you want people to put in a keyword and your brand pops up and you're like, oh my gosh, but you know, we're not a skilled nursing facility, we're a memory care community. You know, why are we associated with that keyword? So it's really important, if you're going to also purchase an ad, that you're going to be seen and your rank and you're pulled up in the best light. So there's a lot of, and I can honestly do a class on SEO and SEM in and of itself, but just know that whoever is working on your search engine and engine optimization strategy and search engine marketing strategy has your keywords in mind, and it represents, again, your brand, your service offerings, who you are. And then your email marketing. Really make sure that you honor all of the CAN spam laws. And when you have an email campaign, it is really quick and simple, 300 words or less, very helpful, something that family members, referral sources, constituents in your area, who's ever receiving this, again, it's useful, valuable, helpful. The last thing you want is for people in your community, meaning your greater area, let's say you live in Tampa, Florida, to think, oh my gosh, they're emailing me all the time. We've all signed up for emails with organizations, and then we'll get 5, 10 a day, especially like around the holidays. And it becomes overwhelming or too much. And then we end up unsubscribing. We don't want any family member or referral source to unsubscribe from what we have to offer. We want them to see and wait with anticipation whenever they get our email. It's always at the same time every month. It's always helpful. We have referral sources that look forward to the content that some of our clients deliver, because they actually end up passing it on to the family members, and they look good. They build value with the people that they're working with as social workers, and they then turn around and thank our clients for providing that for them, because they are so busy and, quite frankly, overwhelmed meeting needs. So you really want to think about your email campaign. If you are doing one, does it represent your brand? So these are just high level areas to think about your brand, and we often don't think about this. We think, again, it's our logo, it's our tagline, and then make sure it's on everything, right? That's not the way it is. It's deeper than that. And I want you all, no matter what stage of the game you are at, to take time to really think about it. And then offline, your marketing material. What does your marketing material look like? And does it represent your brand? So for example, if you are positioning yourself as a high-end, luxurious memory care community that provides top-line services and features, but your marketing collateral doesn't evoke that sense of luxury, whether in its design or its printed paper or any of that, then there's inconsistency there. So you really want to make sure that your marketing material also rings true to your brand. So here's the time of self-reflection that I'd love for us to be able to think about. So when you're listening to me, take out a piece of paper and pen, and if you email me at the end of this to get our newsletter and brand audit, I can send these questions to you. But just ask yourself, or rather, as I ask you, answer this in your own head as I go through some of these questions. I think that there is no better time, and why we chose the beginning of the year to do Branding 101, just high level, for you to think about whether you are at the beginning, you just graduated from the academy and you're looking for investors or financing, or you're looking for your community, your land, or you just bought the home, you're building on that land, you're converting that home, or you are in operation, or you've been in operation for days, or years. It's really important for you to think, now that the year's just started, how do you start building your brand, or how do you revamp it to get back on the right track to grow your awareness and bring more people to you? So consumers form an opinion of a brand in 10 seconds. When you look at your brand specifically, what do you see? And be honest with yourself. And these are questions that you could ask, your trusted family members, the team that you work with, because these are people who value and respect you, and who will give you honest opinion and feedback, so that you will see, wow, that's helpful. I can see how I can make this a little better so that I can gain greater brand recognition, or I can implement this tactic to increase my inquiries. However they give you the feedback, go with asking people, in addition to yourself, that you know and respect and value their opinion. So what does your brand say to you? When growing your brand, is it hard to see where you're going to be? So for example, when you look at it now, it's kind of hard to see the evolution of where you're going to be in 5 years, and unless you take a step back and start building that plan like we talked about, knowing who your audience is and going from there on. So it's really good to ask residents, family members, staff, referral sources, investors, what do you see when you look at my brand? Take a look at my website, look at my logo. Does my tagline resonate with you? Does my tagline support my mission statement? Do I have a mission statement? Is it on my website? Do people know who I am and what is important to me and what we're about? What is their perception? And remember, at the beginning of the webinar, we talked about how perception is reality. I remember learning that phrase when I was very, very young, and not quite understanding, how is perception and reality? It's an opinion. But the more I have grown up in the world of marketing and worked with people, I see that their perception is reality. If they perceive that they've had a great experience, they'll tell the world. If they perceive that it's poor service, they'll also tell the world. Both can benefit and harm your business. And so you want to control that as best you can by being consistent across the board. And if you know what the perception is from the beginning, you can take the reins now and get that back on track if it needs it, and keep guiding it if it doesn't. What are you known for? And I know you offer or will offer residential assisted living, either memory care or a combination of the two. But what are you really known for? Are you known for kindness, courtesy, hospitality? You know, do you return phone calls that same day? How are the phones answered? You know, when referral sources hear from you or you speak with them, what is it they say about you? That's the underlying body of what we really want to get to when it comes to our brand. You know, for example, Dove. I've made, if you've ever heard me, my two favorite brands are Nike and Dove. Dove because it's girl power and empowerment, and I have two young girls, and they do a lot to help young women understand and have a voice and see their specialness and their talents and their uniqueness. And so I buy Dove. I buy Dove shampoo. I buy Dove lotion, Dove soap. Dove is all over my house. And I'm a loyal Dove person. Nike, I believe that, you know, yes, we all have it within us to do this. And so I take an emotional connection to these brands because I see what they're trying to do and what they're about. Zappos, Bombas, I can go on with a lot of brands I personally purchase because they do good work. For everything I buy, they turn around and they give back to their community. Target, for example, why I shop there, they give 5% back. So when you look at your brand, do your customers have that emotional connection, and can they rattle off, they also do this? This is why I also shop with them. This is why they get my business. When I'm at this RAL home, my mom is receiving the best care possible. Hands down, I would never go to a big box. I would never consider home health. This is the best thing for me and for my family. So you want to think about perception, and asking your constituents, your friends, family will really help you to see that. What experience do you deliver? Is it seamless? So for example, I mentioned the call before. We do mystery shops all the time. And just last week, we conducted a mystery shop over the weekend for one of our clients. And it was very interesting because the person who we wanted to talk to wasn't the person who answered the phone. And when we asked for that person, the person who answered the phone gave the general greeting and immediately transferred us. Did not say, thank you so much for calling, I'm happy to connect you, nothing, just answered the phone with the brand name of that community and transferred away. And it was rather awkward. And so if that's consistently done, people aren't going to think that your home is warm and welcoming. So just call and see, how are people answering the phone, and is it answered the same in the morning as it is in the night, weekday, weekend? What are you known for? What is that perception? How do you meet their needs? I know that each of us, when we're starting a business, have in mind how we want needs to be met, but it's an entirely different story when we speak to our clients and we ask them, are we meeting your needs? And how do you think your needs are met? So engage in customer surveys and feedback, solicit it often, and ask, how are their needs being met? What is the perception people have of you when they look at your logo, read your mission statement, or your values? Is it the same and across the board consistently? From a census development standpoint, how is your word of mouth referral from professional resources as well as family members? That's a really good indication of a strong brand, because people know you are known for great care. You are known for taking care of families. You're known as a helpful advisor. Even if that person doesn't move in, you take the time and you're always helping that family member understand what could be best for their loved one, even if you can't meet that need. What are you really known for? And are referral sources and family members speaking volumes to that in your area? And how does your brand stand apart from your competitors in the senior living space? And it isn't just based on size or staffing ratios. It's based on a lot more. It's based on the authenticity of your brand, the warm fuzzies, the benefits that people have, feel, see, and perceive when they equate that experience with your brand. So all of these questions are really important when you're doing a brand audit, to ask yourself and to ask friends and family members to consider as well. So what are the benefits of a strong brand? You know, I want you to think about your customer journey, if you haven't in a while, and walk yourself through it. From the moment you learn of an organization, you visit the website, you call the community, ask yourself, What are they looking for? And does that experience equate with my brand? And you may wish to mystery shop it yourself. Building a great brand will distinguish you from other senior living providers, help you attract new residents, and gain credibility and loyalty. So really think about what differentiates you from the competition. Are you attracting new residents? Can you gain credibility with your current branding strategy? And have you gained loyalty with your understanding of the customer journey, and how, if at all, can that be shifted? So those are just some tips, some pro tips for branding. I thank you for your time. I hope I've stayed within that time. And right now, if you have any questions, please, Tess.
Yes, anybody who has a question, go ahead and just submit it into the question box, and then I'm going to go ahead and read it off. So we'll just give everybody a minute to think about what they want to say. Got one coming in from Michelle. Doesn't look like it was fully typed, but that's okay. I'm sure she'll retype in just a moment.
Okay.
Okay, so someone asks, is the website the first form of branding I should work on?
No, the first form of branding, it goes back to the very basics. It's a great question, and thank you for asking, of what we talked about. So if it really depends on where you are in your business strategy, but if you have not yet started your RAL home, your first form of branding goes back to your understanding your audience, then developing your logo and your mission statement so that that all ties in. If you have an existing logo, an existing tagline, your brand is somewhat established, and you have a website up, then yes, you go to your website, and at the same time you're looking at your website, look at your social media profiles and your marketing collateral, and then look at the content across all of those platforms. If you are utilizing any other forms of marketing, like we mentioned, whether it's a blog, an email campaign, SEO, what have you, look at those as well. So on the audit sheet that we have, a brand audit, we literally list everything I talked about tonight by bullet so that you can take a look there. But the first place to always start is knowing your audience. Who is your audience? What is it they experience? What's that customer journey like? And then making sure your logo, your tagline, your URL, all of those building blocks to your brand are all cohesive before you launch your website, and then your other marketing collateral. And that's the process that we always recommend with everyone. You really can't build a website if you don't have, a URL. You can't build a website if you don't have a logo. Your website may not be true to your brand if you don't have a style guide. So those are just the beginnings of where you should be whenever you look at how to go about fixing or auditing your brand. Does that answer your question? Is that
I think
helpful?
that was fabulous. So another question that has just come in is, how can we receive a brand audit that was mentioned?
Oh, so you just email me, Sandra at scottgroup.consulting, and let me know that you attended tonight's webinar, and we'll send you the newsletter along with the brand audit.
Awesome. Okay, a really great question that just came in is, how would I go about launching a new product or service that fits in with my existing brand?
So that's a really great question. I love it. So whenever you're introducing a new service that fits in with your brand, you can take a multifaceted approach. So first, look at your website, and how can you introduce that service on your website? And there's a few ways you can go about that. So if you look at the header and you have a services tab, for example, you can introduce that new service underneath that tab. If you have just a general site and you have your services bulleted, you can have it in there, but use an SEO strategy to make sure that that service is being picked up on by crawlers whenever anyone types anything into Google. Create a launch schedule. So if you're really trying to market this service as new, and for example, let's just say we're opening a spa and we have a a hairdresser that comes in now every single day to care for our residents and make them look fabulous so they don't have to go out anywhere. And that's the service we want to provide. We want to market that on our website in the appropriate space. We want to make sure that there's an SEO strategy that organically builds that. And then we want to launch it, roll it out. How you might do that is by having a social media campaign to say, with what we call retargeting. The first message is going to announce the service and why this is important, why this is valuable. So it's not just that you have a salon. Great, you have a salon. Many senior living communities have a salon. Why is this important to me? Why should this be important to me? It's because now, as an adult child, you don't have to come and get mom and dad to take them to get their hair cut. It helps them save on time. They can visit longer with their family. They can take care of the personal errands that they need to. So think about how this service will build value with the persons that you're offering it to, with your market, and then create messaging around that in all of your social media posts. And don't inundate them with that same service offering and the wow of it every single day. You may wish to post on Monday and then solicit comments, follow us here or hashtag us here, or follow our hashtag, or share your, we're opening a salon and you can do something fun like this. Share your best salon moments with us. And that gets your constituents talking. Everybody is now discussing this on Insta or Facebook, and they're having a really great conversation about it. And you can share their best style moments and their worst style moments. They like, the bowl haircut from the 80s. We all have a haircut in our day that we didn't like. So it's just fun and lighthearted, and it could be a great way. So you introduce that service the first time. Wow, here's why this is important to you, build the value. The next time you mention it might be, 2 or 3 days later to keep it top of mind. And then you can do something fun like that to introduce, sharing and that connection. And then the third time you remarket it to your audience would be stop by or schedule a salon experience with your mother. So it could be a mother-daughter salon experience, and then you can use the event booking on Facebook to do it. There's a myriad of ways, and really fun and engaging, innovative ways that you can use social in order to get that out. So website and then social, and then if you're doing any sort of newsletters or email campaigns to your families, you could drop that in there as well. And again, always focus on why this is important, how do I build value, and the benefits that this provides the people that I'm marketing to. It's not just the feature. The feature is that service, but why it's important, that's the benefit. That's the warm fuzzies, and that's what you want to communicate. I hope that answers your question.
That was such a great question and such a great answer. Thank you for sharing that. All right,
you're welcome.
Just a couple more. So
okay.
Patricia asked, can one begin with a small, simple website and develop it as the business grows?
100%. Patricia, I love your question. So every one of us is coming to RAL Academy and into this amazing opportunity in our life where we want to provide a legacy for our family and develop this great business that meets a need. But not all of us are coming from the same financial opportunity. Some of us may have a group of investors, and some of us may be bootstrapping it. So given all of those considerations, you should think about how you want to build and plan out in your business plan your marketing strategy. And if your marketing strategy does not allow for a full website development, you can have what's called a splash page. So a splash page is a one-pager. And that is a common industry practice, very well accepted, still with the caveat, have SEO on the back end of that, but have a splash page because it's just a one-pager and it can state who you are, what you do, the services you provide, your contact information, and build enough anticipation to, hey, we're coming to the St. Louis area, and meet us at this convention or this conference or this senior living, activity or this community event. You can still use that splash page and update it constantly. And at the same time, you're building domain authority. And that's really important to being found online, whether, it's 6 months from then that you have your full-fledged website, or it's a year from then, depending upon, your build schedule and construction delays and all of that. So I would recommend always consider, if your budget does not allow or timing does not allow, have a splash page. And if timing allows, make sure that your website is built no less than 3 months prior to your opening date. Oftentimes, try and give it at least 6 months. And the reason is it takes time. It really does take about a year for you to develop strong brand authority, online domain authority, SEO strategy that starts making that phone ring, and it takes no less than 90 days for anyone. There's something called Google Sandbox, and I could talk about that later, because you've never had a website before, or you've had a website but it's dormant. So just make sure that whatever you do, think through your launch date or your opening date, and then a friend of mine used to say, walk the dog back. Think about, if I'm going to open on this day, then is a splash page better, because I'm not opening for another year. And that will help me put my money and resources into other areas of operational expenses I need to meet. So splash page is a really great idea before full-page website development.
Awesome. Okay, last question that's just been submitted. I find myself having trouble committing to my brand because I want it to be perfect. Do you have any advice that may help me stop overthinking and discover my brand?
Yes, I love that. So I think a really great healthy exercise is just to sit down in a quiet space. Like Deepak Chopra would say, he actually does have a meditation that you just quietly say, what do I want? What do I want? What do I want? And it can be oversimplified. Yes, I want to be successful. I want to have a RAL home that, is meeting needs. I want to have a 3-pack. You have all these goals. Just simplify it. Give yourself space, time, and permission to figure it out. If you're under the gun because you've already acquired the property, or you've broken ground, or you're going to open, you want to be able to do it a little bit sooner than later, but sit there and say, what is it you want? What is it you want to be known for? And really make it simple. Hire someone that you can trust, like a graphic artist, that can take a concept, a thought, a vision, and work with that person hand in hand to make your idea or your vision come to life. Oftentimes, what we do is we have a discovery process. Whenever we're building a logo, because we know it's an extension of who you are and will be for years to come, we have a discovery time for an hour, and we say, tell us about what's important to you. What do you value? What means the most to you? What do you want this brand to incorporate? And then we also have a questionnaire that is so thorough. We give you samples of topography, color schemes, everything, because you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes having a direction and guidance means everything to get that fire going and say, yes, I didn't know I love that, but I love that. It's like HGTV. When someone renovates your home, you're like, oh, I didn't know this. It's my style, but I love it. And so you really want to do the same. Think about what it is you want. What do you want to be known for? Those 2 simple questions, and then partner with someone who is an expert in that field, who can help you execute your vision.
All right. That was fabulous. Thank you guys so much for submitting those questions. And thank you, Sandra, for being here and for giving us that incredible presentation. I did drop Sandra's email and her website into the chat if anybody wants to directly visit. If anybody wants more resources through the National Association, I'm going to also drop the RALNA.org link. We always have different things being uploaded. So Sandra, thank you so much for being here. I'm sure we'll see your face again soon. Is there anything else you want to add?
Oh, just if you have any questions that we didn't get to here, we do offer 30-minute free consultations. So just go to our website and sign up for a day and time, and we're happy to be of service.
Wonderful. Okay, everybody, thank you for being here and have a wonderful evening. Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you. Thank you, Tess. Thank you, everyone. Good night.